You wanna G with the big boys. Like the man, get it, you the man, get it, we drink with the drop cup. Hey.
Thank you. Just two quick questions. General Townsend, could you walk us through what you think China is doing in Africa? When I had met with you, you gave a pretty good brief, and I know some of it would have to do in the classified session later. But what are they doing in Africa? How does it threaten us, and what are we doing to address it?
Thanks for the question, Chairman. There's should be some handouts at your places there that you can refer to. There's one on China there that depicts what I'll just kind of briefly talk to. They compete with us in Africa. First of all, China has made a decision, a deliberate decision to compete with America in Africa and win that competition. They compete primarily through economic means and diplomatic means. And you can see that there with their Belt and Road Initiative. They are investing everywhere across the continent. We don't actually have to meet that competition in every location head on. We have to pick and choose where we're going to do that. And there are countries where it's important that we do. And the military sphere, you heard in the chairman's opening remarks there that they have their one overseas base in Djibouti. The primary thing that concerns me with China's military competition in Africa is that they are actively seeking a military base on the Atlantic coast of Africa. And for a variety of reasons that I will go to in closed session, that would be bad for America's security. We, as a first priority, we need to deter a Chinese base in the Atlantic coast of Africa.
This question's for both General McKenzie and General Townsend. General McKenzie, China has extensive influence in the Middle East and Africa, both through its Belt and Road Initiative and through increasing foreign arms sales. Can you comment on China's economic influence within your command and your concerns that our regional partners increasingly turn to China for military assistance?
Senator, I'll begin with their economic penetration into the region. They draw a significant portion of their hydrocarbons from the region. A lot of it goes to the Strait of Hormuz. We see as a result of that, they are interested in pursuing close, deep, and economic relationships with nations that adjoin the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf itself so that they can protect that long-term investment. I believe ultimately that will move from economic to a military component. They think in the long term, but I believe that's inevitable that we're going to see that. Finally, I believe that we remain the partner of choice for military systems. Our military systems are the best in the world. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for if you buy a Chinese system.
Thank you. General Townsend?
Thanks, Senator. There's a handout there, should be a handout there that depicts the question you're asking, China's investments across the spectrum in Africa, and it's daunting. They are investing primarily in the economic realm, and then followed by the diplomatic realm, and then to a lesser degree, the military domain. However, their military investments are playing out in Africa. They have their one overseas base there, and they are working hard to develop other overseas bases there. And I would reiterate what General McKenzie said about we remain the partner of choice, and our equipment and our training is second to none. However, it can sometimes take a bit of long time to unfold, and that sometimes forces our African partners to reach for the bird go with the bird in hand, which is sometimes China, sometimes Russia.
General Townsend, how do you view our African partners' opinion of Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Will they distance themselves from Russia based on its unprecedented action, or how do we hold them accountable if Russia is allowed to remain economically relevant to those markets?
Senator, I think if you saw the vote play out in the UN the other day, it's sort of it covers a spectrum. So about half of Africa voted to condemn Russia's invasion. The other half either voted to either abstained or did not vote. I think there was only one vote from the continent. Eritrea voted to support Russia. But it was troubling to me that half of the continent either abstained or did not vote. And I think that's because they're trying to see how this is going to play out. Many of them have strong economic ties to Russia and China, and I think they're biding their time.
Thank you, Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Senator Fisher, please.
Thank you.
It is widely known that large swaths of the telecom infrastructure throughout the continent of Africa are run on Chinese-produced hardware, including Huawei and ZTE. I've long been concerned with the network security threats that from compromised Chinese-produced hardware. Can you talk about your level of concern with these types of threats from Africom AOR?
Yes, so part of that extensive Chinese investment on the African continent is telecommunications, as you just mentioned. Huawei is endemic across the continent. They're building smart cities, safe cities, which are going to make, connect everything in those cities, and it will report back to Beijing. Usually it reports back to Beijing before it reports to the host nation's capital. So that's a fairly significant threat that I don't think we truly understand the implications of, and we won't till sometime in the future.
Do you think our allies are aware of that?
Yes, I believe that they are, but at the same time, they're wanting to pull their countries into the modern world, and so China is offering very lucrative technologies that they probably wouldn't be able to access otherwise. And so I think they're going into it mostly with eyes open.
Do you think there's any effective response that the U.S. could have to this type of coercion, if you will?
I think probably, and I'll defer to Ms. Baker, but I think probably having an economical alternative, right? Some competitive alternatives on the economic side in the free market is probably the best alternative.
I love the word free market, General. Are we too far down the path, though, with the amount of equipment that's been installed in Africa to really impact in a positive way the continent?
No, I don't believe that we are.
Okay.
In the countries and the safe cities that are already being established, yes, but elsewhere, I don't believe that we are.
Ms. Baker?
Congressman, if I could just add to that, I think our strategy as it relates to the telecommunications infrastructure and the China challenge is twofold. The first, as General Townsend said, is we are trying to make sure that partners and allies in the region, not only in Africom, but globally, have the information that we see about the threat that this poses to their infrastructure and the potential vulnerabilities that it will, introduce into their system. So that's part one, is sort of an educational aspect. We're also, and this is not a Department of Defense lead, but as an administration, looking at technological solutions that would allow some of these countries to get after that telecommunications capability that they're so desperate to get, but in a way that's safer.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Ms. Murphy is recognized for 5 minutes.